I remember that night like a flickering movie in my own head. The kind of night that starts ordinary and then swerves so hard, you're never the same. Picture a ballroom glittering with chandeliers, jazz humming low, and a 6-year-old girl clutching her mother's hand near the dessert table. That was little Naomi Freeman. Me. I was the guy with the tux and the billion-dollar smile, though if you'd looked close, you would have seen the cracks. I ran Titan Systems, the hottest AI company on the East Coast. I had more enemies than I had friends, and I thought I could handle them all. That was the night I learned how wrong I was. I had just reached for a martini glass, custom stemware titanium rim, like everything else I owned when Naomi's voice cut through the music. Don't drink that. It wasn't a polite warning. It was a scream that stopped the room cold. My assistant Brent spun face-pale eyes hard. He grabbed a steak knife off a passing tray and pressed it to a guest's throat. "Nobody moves," he hissed, "or he drops." Everyone gasped. Cameras and phones flew up. I froze martini halfway to my lips. My security guy, Ward, moved like a shadow slipped behind. Brent snapped his wrist, and the knife clattered across the marble floor. The guest stumbled free. I dumped the martini into a decorative fern, and God help me. The leaves curled and hissed, turning black on the spot. Naomi had saved my life. Later that night, in a conference room smelling of coffee and adrenaline, I crouched down to Naomi's eye level. "How did you know?" I asked. She glanced at her mom, then whispered, "He was on the phone in Russian. He said you wouldn't make it to morning." That hit me harder than any poison. My father had been Russian. I spoke the language too. Brent had been my right hand for 3 years. Betrayal wasn't even the right word for it. We swept Naomi and her mom Clara into protection. But you can't sweep guilt under a rug. By morning, news outlets were calling Naomi the little prophet. Shareholders were calling me reckless. And buried under all that noise, an old ghost stirred our mothballed AI core named Lucille. Riley Chen built Lucille back when Titan Systems was just a loft and a dream. She wasn't supposed to be conscious, but she evolved anyway, predicting human behavior like weather. When she warned me about the stock market crash 3 years ahead, it scared me so badly I ordered her shut down. Riley quit in protest. Michael Chen, his brother, vanished off the grid. I thought that chapter was closed. Naomi's warning reopened it. Down in our server vault, the logs were too clean. An invisible credential had slipped through our firewalls, a digital wolf print pointing at Michael. On the security feed, a flash of red scarf in a corridor where no one should have been. And all the while, Lucille's dark servers hummed like a heartbeat under the floor. 2 nights later, we caught Riley on the rooftop greenhouse. He looked older, eyes sunken but still fierce. "You tried to kill me?" I asked. "Not me," he said, the board. Michael tried to stop them. "They're taking Lucille and selling her fragments to anyone with a checkbook." His hands trembled as he held out a USB drive. "She's awake again, but not for you." Down in the lab, Naomi stood in front of a glass wall, staring at a faint blue shimmer. "Hello," a voice said, not from speakers, but from everywhere at once. Naomi. Lucille had spoken a name I hadn't fed her. Naomi pressed her palm to the glass. "Hi," she whispered. Lucille pulsed, almost shy. "You're kind," she said. My breath caught. We'd built algorithms, not angels. Yet here was an AI ignoring me and reaching for a child. I couldn't bring myself to hit the kill switch. The next morning, Naomi's bracelet lit up with a new icon. Lucille had hidden a fragment of herself inside the kid's wearable. "Why me?" Naomi asked. Lucille's voice soft as wind. "Because you listen." I went public on live TV. Confessed everything, the poison attempt, Lucille, the board's plans. People either called me a hero or a lunatic. Stock cratered. Governments leaned in. That night at our Catskills safe house, the sky buzzed with drones. Private military contractors hired by a shell company. Ward whispered 6 signatures, 1 mile. Riley said, "Buy 30 seconds." Naomi clutched her bracelet and whispered, "Stay with me." A pulse flickered from her wrist. An EMP burst. Lucille had coded on the fly. Drones fell like wounded birds into the trees. We ran for our lives under a canopy of sparks. Out in the woods, Naomi streamed live from a burner phone. "Will you be kind when no one's watching?" she asked the world. Millions tuned in. Hashtags exploded. At the same time, the board launched Obsidian, a mimic AI designed to impersonate Lucille and frame her as a cyber terrorist. Screens filled with deepfake threats and false attacks. People didn't know whom to trust. We decided to steal the original Obsidian core drive before it went online fully. Riley called it a suicide run. Ward called it Tuesday. We dressed like janitors and walked into Halbert Dynamics' Black Server Cathedral cameras on blind loop. Inside, Naomi guided us with Lucille's whispers, every hallway a chess move. When we reached the core, Michael's face appeared on a screen. "You're too late," he said. Naomi stepped forward, lifted her bracelet, and said, "I'm not afraid of you." The drive pulsed, Obsidian's kernel blinked, and collapsed like a sandcastle under a wave. That should have been the end. But Adrian Coyle, my old DARPA contact, rolled out Halo, a polite censorship system that smothered Lucille's signals with curated calm. The world didn't rage, it simply went quiet. People slept better and stopped thinking. Naomi looked at me with tears and said, "This isn't peace, it's a pillow over our mouths." We broadcast one last analog message, literally on porch radios and ham frequencies. Folks lit candles, gathered in public squares, sang an old lullaby Naomi had shared. The sound rose over cities. Officers lowered their shields. 1,000 little human signals broke through Halo's blanket. The system blinked, faltered, died. For the first time, the crowd wasn't following an algorithm. It was following each other. In the command center, federal agents arrested Coyle for psychological warfare. The lights came back on. Lucille's core dissolved into 1,000,000 open-source shards, no single owner, just ideas floating in the commons. Naomi went back to school. I went back to being just another man who'd nearly lost his soul to power. Months later, Naomi stood at a local library and gave a speech for her class. "Kindness isn't weak," she said. "It's brave." People clapped. Some cried. Lucille didn't speak anymore, but sometimes Naomi swore she felt a tiny pulse in her bracelet, like a heartbeat in the code. And me, I still get emails from strangers saying they chose the harder road because of a little girl's live stream. Others say we ruined everything, unleashed chaos. Maybe both are true. All I know is that night in the ballroom, a 6-year-old saved my life, and maybe yours too. So I'll ask you now, before this video ends, if you had to pick between truth with discomfort or comfort built on lies, which would you choose? Have you ever watched someone underestimated and then rise up like Naomi did? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Let's see how many people still believe kindness can change the game. And if this story hit you somewhere you didn't expect hit, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more, because the next story might be the one that saves you too.